let's start out. I'll ask you this question, Aiden, because I know you have a different answer than me. But when is Trey Lance going to start?
Okay, so Kyle came out and said that it will be obvious when Trey Lance starts. I think we get to week 10, the Niners are 6-4, 7-3, and Jimmy isn't looking awesome. Well, we're getting kind of those Trey Lance rumblings, similar to the Patrick Mahomes in practice kind of things. And I think similar to what Baltimore did to with Lamar, where they were like an okay team, they were right around 500, but they utilized the new quarterback to push them into the playoffs and give teams an element that they weren't ready to prepare for. Obviously, teams have adapted since then, but Baltimore won like 5 straight with Lamar to make the playoffs, and I could see Kyle looking at that and seeing, oh, like that's a great idea, but obviously that's very contingent on Jimmy not playing well. If he plays like 2019 Jimmy, I don't think Lance plays the whole year. But if Jimmy, even pre-injury last year, didn't look awesome, if he plays 2020 Jimmy over 2019 Jimmy, I'd be shocked if Lance doesn't start at least 5-ish games. But I think you're going to talk more about the sub packages and stuff like that.
Yeah, so this is something that we definitely disagree on. I don't think that Lance is going to start like at all, and of course, unless Jimmy gets hurt, because I do think he will be the backup quarterback. We saw Jordan Love going to Green Bay, and he was their third string quarterback. And I actually like Jordan Love, but I don't think we're going to see that with Trey Lance. And I know that he's going to be behind on the 8 ball and stuff, but Kyle can build an offense around any kind of players. It's just how he's going to really maximize that. And something that we kind of knows with him is that he is a very raw player. And we also saw Josh Allen come out and he was raw, but he started right away. I don't think that's going to be the case with Lance. I'd be very surprised with him. And just kind of going back a little bit, I like Trey Lance a lot. He was my quarterback 2A, I said. He was my 2A. Fields was my 2B. I did think Fields made a little bit more sense. They went with Lance. I'm excited. I actually bought, I don't know if I told you this, and I bought a Lance jersey. So I'm stoked. It's in the mail right now. So I'm really excited about that. But I was really surprised that they took him. I was not expecting that at all. But I really do expect him to sit the whole year. So when we're kind of talking about when is he going to start, I think he'll be the starting quarterback of 2022. I think that the 49ers feel like their roster is good enough to win with Jimmy. And I don't think that they feel like they can like elevate or like they don't want to have a dumbed down version of the offense to start this year. They want to get the ball into their playmakers' hands. And I don't think they quite feel like, and this could obviously change in training camp, but just how I'm expecting how they feel right now is that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to give them the best chance to win early on. Now, like you said, if they don't start out and they don't look that good or their offense doesn't look that good, there is a chance that Trey Lance comes in there, especially if he's like ahead of everything in preseason and early on in training camp or whatnot. Now, there are no OTAs this year, or at least the Niners aren't going to be in OTAs because they like opted out of them. So I think that makes it a little bit tougher for Trey, just kind of less and less practice, less time on the field. Obviously, the dude hasn't seen the field that much. So I would be really surprised if he starts this year, but I'd also be very, very surprised if he does not start week 1 of 2022 either. So I do think it's a 1-year kind of project thing. I know that term gets brought up a lot, like this project quarterback. I think he's a little bit different because I think that, yeah, he's a project quarterback, but he's also clearly a very intelligent player, a guy that's and ran a very similar offense and ran it hands-on where he's calling audibles. He's doing a lot of things. So I think that I think he's not like a true like 2-year project quarterback like a lot of people think he is. I think it's going to be 1 year and he's ready to go in 2022. But you brought up the sub packages stuff. I think we're going to see him once in a while in 2021. And I think it's going to be really exciting when we see him. We were talking just like about potentially having him in like goal line and things like that. I'm all for it. But what are your thoughts on them maybe doing something like that?
I think it would bring a totally new wrinkle. Jimmy obviously isn't going to run the read option game, at least not in a super effective manner. But Trey Lance is a guy who can definitely do that. I brought it up before the pod, but imagine a triple option with Hurd and Sermon and Lance. Sounds kind of deadly to me. But like it just gives Kyle another way to scheme and another way to get people open and another way to get touchdowns. And I think that's huge, especially in the red zone where the Niners haven't been the best team over the last couple of years. So definitely super excited to see what Cal can cook up.
Yeah, I'm a fan of like bringing in a guy for like 2-point conversions and short yardage situations and having just like kind of a different player, especially if you have like a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo in at quarterback. I think that's a really cool thing to do. I hope they do that this year. Because I don't know if I talked about this with you. I think I talked about it with you and on the pod, but I thought that the Patriots were going to trade for Jimmy, but still utilize Cam Newton in a role like that. Obviously, a much larger role than I think Trey Lance will have in his rookie year. But I still think the 49ers can implement something where Trey Lance comes on the field, and even if it's just for power run situations or to pick up a first down on 4th and 1, and maybe we'll see him in the backfield with those two guys in 2021 because I think that'd be really fun. You definitely see everyone lose their mind for a minute pre-snap. That'll be fun to see. Much like the Jerick McKinnon Wildcat formation, if you remember that last season, though that one did not work out too well. So I hope that this one does. But just about Trey Lance and not for the sub package stuff, but when he does end up starting, whether that be in 2021 or 2022, what should we expect from him early on in your mind?
I think just obviously complete different players, but think back to that RG3 Washington team where Kyle like really started that zone read in the NFL, and he came out this week and said something really interesting. He was like, "We didn't even run the zone read that often, but teams were so scared of it that it allowed Alfred Morris to run for like 1,600 yards." So if he's able to bring a new wrinkle that he doesn't even have to just the threat of it being there, and I think Lance allows you to do a lot more things with that. But kind of to go back to the earlier point, when is the last quarterback to be picked top 5 that didn't start at some point during his rookie year? I can't think of one. Like Baker with the Browns, Tyrod was gonna start, but then Baker was thrown in there. Trubisky started, Watson started, obviously wasn't top 5. Allen started. I don't really
Mahomes is the
see.
guy, but he went, what was it, 12 or 11, 10?
Yeah,
I think it was
I
10,
guess, but they
but he's
were
not
a
top 5.
no, but I guess that's a decent comp, but I guess Alex Smith and Jimmy were in the same tier. They felt they could win with Alex Smith. I don't know, but just one of those things that if you're gonna pick a guy at 3, and I think some quarterback needy team like the Broncos, if they don't get Rodgers, it's gonna come to week 6, and they're like, we have this good roster, and Teddy Bridgewater is not getting it done. Fine, we'll give you the first round pick. I could see that happening over Lance not starting a single game, I guess.
No, that's something interesting. And we talked about Josh Allen a little bit. Josh Allen did start really early on, but the thing was, I think he played a whole other season, and I think Allen played 3 seasons at Wyoming, maybe not a full 3 seasons, but it might have been two and something. But Lance played 1 season and then one additional game. So I think that there would be a much more likely chance that he would start right away, even if he's a really raw player, if he would have started all of last year. But obviously that didn't happen. He played one game. So it's hard to kind of judge that way. I do think that's what makes it different, but that also makes it hard to even judge where he's at as a player as well, because he could look really different. And I know he's been training with Jordan Palmer, and if those like the parts of the game that he's really smart, like strong on, are just understanding the offense and being able to run it like that, and he's way ahead of the curve, you could see him go in there. Now at the same time, you're going to need to see his motion look way different. But if that's what he's been working on, and he already has that other side to his game, sort of, I think there is a potential chance. And we also talked about it. The maybe inevitable Jimmy Garoppolo injury could always kind of lead to that as well. So there's that aspect of it. But I want to kind of get into a little bit of like what I think the offense is going to look like, because I think this is the coolest part of it. I think early on we're not going to see the same kind of Kyle Shanahan offense. I still think we're going to see a ton of motions, ton of guys, moving in and out of the offense, a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage. But I think what else is going to happen is it's going to be a lot more running. There'll still be, the outside zone scheme, but I think we're going to see a lot more running in between the tackles. And you look at a pick like Aaron Banks, and we're going to get into him right after this, but you look at those kind of picks and you go, wow, this team is really trying to build like a very strong offensive line and a very strong running attack. And then off of that, you're going to see a lot of downfield shots in the play action. And I think that's something that we've kind of seen Kyle Shanahan already do, even with Nick Mullins and even with C.J. Beathard. He's always going to do that. But you're going to see teams going all in on a potential handoff or even like a Trey Lance run where they have to really put all of their guys and stack the box because they can't stop it. And we're going to see, I think, Ayuk and Kittle having just really flourishing in an offense where that it gives them the chance to flourish, those two guys especially. So I think that we're going to see them utilized a little bit more. I don't think it's the best thing for Deebo Samuel's future just because unless he can develop more of a downfield threat, which of course there's a chance. And I mean, I know me and you love Deebo, and I think he's going to have a great year in 2021. But with Lance, I think the guys that are helped the most are Kittle and Ayuk in that offense and just the running game as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. I want to focus on the running backs a little bit, specifically in 2022. Even this year, you could kind of see it. I expect Mostert to take a significant step back and be much more of a change of pace guy. I think Sermon and Wilson are going to get the majority of the carries between the two of them. While, like, if you got two guys that can wear down the opposing defense, and then you got a healthy, fresh Mostert coming off the bench, he's going to be even that much faster. And I think that's what Shanahan sees, especially in 2022, with a guy like Elijah Mitchell, who got picked late, but is in that Mostert mold where I think Kyle is going to move away from the fast, light guy because he sees him get injured too often. And I think Sermon specifically in 2022, when we both expect Lance to be walking into week one as the unquestioned starter, I think it's going to be a different philosophy with Kyle. I think you made a really good point, and you like mentioned it when you said in between the tackles. That's something that Sermon's going to do over a guy like Mitchell or Raheem Mostert. And I think we're going to go back to power football over kind of the outside zone that we've been running for the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, and I like it a lot because I think like when you kind of bring in that power football dynamic, I think it makes the Brandon Ayuk's and the George Kittles that much more important. Not only for Kittle, even if we see Kittle's numbers go down because they run the football a lot, which I think is the chance, Kittle's going to be so important in this new offense where it's a lot more running and the team is more built on the offensive line in years past, which I absolutely love. But no, I think you're spot on there. I think that's something that we're going to see. I also think that there's a reason why they brought in, 6 running backs. And we'll talk about Trey Sermon a lot. I'm stoked for that pick, but I don't know. I think we're going to see a large change in the philosophy that Kyle Shanahan's had. And I really just think that speaks to his ability to adapt in the NFL. So looking forward to it. I think Trey Lance I think there's a lot that we can expect from him when he becomes a starter. And I think we should expect the offense to look a lot different than Kyle's offenses had looked in past, even pretty much all of his offenses. And I think the closest thing you're going to be able to kind of resemble it to is the RG3 offense in Washington, which the NFL looks way different now. So it'll look even way different than that. But I think that's the only thing you can kind of think of. And really, we don't really know what to expect. So I think it's going to be really exciting to kind of see how that turns out. But that'll do it for Trey Lance.